We're doing the pledge.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening, Richard. Kara, would you
Thank you.
do the roll call, please?
Yes. Ray Antonetti.
Here.
Richard Antonetti. Mr. Antonetti.
Here.
Thank you. Ken Demirs.
Here.
Dan DeVito.
Here.
Lou Esposito. Bob Marinaro. Dave Pope. Lou Cavallo.
Here.
Joe Duva. Jack McHugh.
Here.
Apparently, we have all regular members of the commission present, so there's no need to seat anybody in place of any regular commission member tonight. Okay. Public participation. Is anybody in the public is willing to speak, but nothing on the agenda should be brought up during public participation. Does anybody have anything to say from the public? Does anybody have anything that they'd like to say from the public? Okay, we'll move on to the next matter. We have the acceptance of minutes as the next matter on the agenda. I understand that the minutes have not been typed, so we're going to table that matter. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Table. Next matter on the agenda is the staff report. Mark?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. There have been, you've probably seen two long-term projects that have finally started, broken ground this spring. One of them is the new medical building on the corner of Bunker Hill and Straits Turnpike. They just started work on that property last week. They have a fairly ambitious schedule to finish work by the end of the year. I don't think they think they're going to do that, but that's their schedule. So I'm sure it goes into the spring of the following year. But they're set to go. Also, Watertown Farms, the service station, which has been under development, under construction on the site, probably for a couple, 2-3 weeks or so, and that's proceeding. All bonds are about to be put into place, and they're proceeding with that project. I dare say the couple of the projects on the agenda tonight, probably notably 795 Straits Turnpike and 1125 Main Street. They gained their approvals tonight. My understanding is. And I can see that they'd probably go forward pretty quickly as well. So it's a good amount of development, visual development that's going on. Otherwise, with reference to the revisions of the regulations, a bulk of the work is in the hands of the consultant who's completing that work. As soon as he gets that done, we'll get the subcommittee back to review and finalize. I dare say we're probably in our last third of the review before bringing it to the commission. We have had, I know this is a long-standing thing and you hear about it a lot, the implementation of the e-permit system. The consultants are actually, again, pushing staff to complete some worksheets so that they can initiate the build of the land use portion. And it'll be a complete build that they will do. It'll involve the zoning permits as well as permits for all three of the commissions, planning and zoning, inland wetlands, and ZBA. That will help us to track projects and will allow for online applications as well.
Thank you. What's the name of the, up on top of 262, the, what store is they putting in there?
It was,
What's the name of the store? Old Town? All Town. All Town.
All Town.
Okay, all right.
It's not Watertown Farms?
Yeah. All Town is going to be, they have an All Town in Middlebury, I do believe, on 64.
yes,
Right.
that is correct.
Right. The next item is old business. There's, this is the Sealy proposal. Chairman's report. I have nothing to report tonight at this point, okay? The old business is the Sealy property. I'd like to move this, I'd like to hear a motion to move this to the back of the agenda so we can.
I'll make a motion to move number 8 into the spot of number 11.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay.
Antonetti, second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, why?
Because we have, well, go ahead, ask the question.
Yeah, through the chair, what would be the reason for moving it?
The reason I see for moving it would be that we have a lot of people here that it's going to be a longer discussion of the commission, and there's a lot of people here, we'd like to get some of the public hearings done, which would be quite quickly done, and then we can have a free time to discuss Sealy at our leisure.
Fair enough.
Okay, fair enough. Any more discussion, any more questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's moved Sealy to number 11 on the agenda, okay? Public hearings. The first one is a site plan permit for River Oak Academy Child Daycare. The second one is a site plan for Sabrina Signor at 1125 Main Street. Carol, would you please read the public notices?
Hearings on May 3rd, 2023, in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 61 Echo Lake Road, Watertown, Connecticut, at 6:30 p.m. on the following. Site plan special permit number 2023-01, River Oak Academy Child Daycare Center, 795 Straits Turnpike, map 165A, block 257, lot 50, located in a BSC zoning district, and site plan special permit number 2023-02, AEPM International LLC, on behalf of Sabrina Signore, 1125 Main Street, proposed mixed-use site redevelopment within an existing building, map 11A, block 23, lot 24, in a BG1 zoning district. At these hearings, interested persons and written communications will be received. A copy of the applications are on file in the Planning and Zoning Office, Watertown Municipal Center, 61 Echo Lake Road, Watertown, Connecticut, and also in the office of the Town Clerk, 61 Echo Lake Road, Watertown, Connecticut, between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m., dated in Watertown, Connecticut, this 20th and 27th day of April 2023. Ken Demir, Secretary, Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, Attorney Pillacy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission and staff. Franklin Pillacy on behalf of the applicant. This is agenda item 9A, a site plan special permit for River Oak Academy Daycare. The applicant principal is Ashley Kittredge, who is here as well. As a preliminary matter, all notice requirements have been complied with. We have provided an affidavit and evidence of notice to the zoning staff prior to tonight. But essentially, this is, as you see, it's a daycare in an existing building. It's going to occupy a portion of existing building that's been vacant for a number of years now. There's approximately 64 students, approximately 15 employees. The facility will operate 5 days a week, and it's pretty much straightforward. If there are any specific questions of operations or anything of that nature, Ashley would be happy to answer.
Commissioners, are there any questions, commissioners, on this?
Through the chair, I
Yes.
just have one. Well, first off, I love what you did with it. I think this is going to be great. Could you speak a little bit being on a main road, could you speak a little bit of what you're going to do for child safety, like fences and that sort of thing?
Yep, so we have a safety fence going up. It's gonna be, the minimum is 4, I think we're gonna go 6 to 8, privacy fence. And, we do have that valet service, if you can see in the exterior site plan. So there's gonna be 1 lane up, the traffic's gonna go around back, and then valet up in front. The 2 lanes will exit to the left, so there's no backup on streets.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners have any questions regarding this site plan this application?
I do.
Yes.
Through the chair. I'm looking at the map with the, where you have everybody staying to the left and circling around the back and coming down front. Was that the only option,
It's the best option.
best option? And have you been in the daycare business in the
Yes.
past? Or-
Yep.
Yeah, you have.
Yep, I opened my first daycare in 2017.
Yeah, all right.
We did look into pulling in and valeting as a circle around the front, but the turn radius isn't large enough, so they had to use the back and then come around.
Yeah, okay, that's it, thank you.
Yep.
Any other commissioners have any inquiries, questions? Right. Developer, did the applicant have any more to say or on this?
No, thank you, not unless there's any questions.
Okay. Does the public have any comments on this application? Does anybody from the public want to comment on this application? Does anybody on the public wish to comment on this application? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Do I have any discussion? Public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. Next case. Site plan permit submitted by, on Sabrina Signore, 1125 Main Street. Proposed mixed-use site redevelopment. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners, members of staff. My name is Michael Marcinick. I'm a principal at AEPM International, located in 241 Main Street in Ansonia, Connecticut. We are here in front of you for the applicant 1125 Main Street LLC. Proposed change in use to a mixed-use facility, being commercial space on the ground floor, commercial retail, and then 2 apartments on the 2nd and 3rd floor. The building is not large enough to go under the current zoning to be more than the 2 units. So we've got a combination of 1 unit is going to be on the 1st floor, 2nd floor, and then a 2nd unit will be on a combination of the 2nd and 3rd floor for a 2-bedroom. So it'll be one efficiency, 1 bedroom, and then 1 2-bedroom. We are proposing to have 11 parking places, keeping the current configuration in the front on angled parking, and then there'll be added space on the side and in the rear, maintaining the 6-foot differentials between the parking and the buildings. The existing building will be connected to the sewer system and will have sprinkler systems, so there'll be some construction in the road to complete that process. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Richard?
yeah, with the apartments, I do like the sprinkler systems being put in. Will there be a fire escape for the upper apartment?
Yes, there will be second means of egress out of the building. Typically, there will be 2 on the upper floors, but you won't be able to see them. They'll be on the side of the building.
And they will be covered?
I didn't hear that.
He wants to have them covered.
Yeah, they'll have to, all egress stairs have to be covered.
Very good, thank you.
Through the chair?
Yes, go ahead.
I thought with the option of sprinklers, you weren't going to have to do the additional covered stairs.
Anytime you have an egress stair on the outside of the building, it has to be covered.
No, I know,
Okay,
but I thought you weren't adding a set of...
There'll be a stair inside the building that actually you won't be able to see the building, the stair. You'll be.
Okay, so you're not building anything outside the building?
Nothing extra, correct. They'll be
Okay.
inside the building.
Excellent. And thank you for adjusting the parking.
Any other commissioners? I have a question. This currently is served by septic. Is it in your intention to connect to sewer?
Correct.
Okay. And did you say 16 spaces or 15?
11.
Parking spaces?
11 parking spaces.
11.
Correct.
Okay. I have nothing else. Anybody, any other commissioners? Does the public have any questions regarding this application? Does the public have any questions regarding this application? Again, does the public have any questions regarding this application? Okay, thank you. Do I entertain a motion to close the public
I'm sorry,
hearing on
Mr.
this?
Chair. Mike,
Sorry.
maybe could have you explain the difference between option 1 and option 2, of the latest plans in terms of the reconfiguration of parking, and if one of them is more preferable to the development or not?
Well, we're trying to maintain, because of the tightness in the front of the building, we're trying to keep the parking as minimal as we can.
Right.
And so they're going to be angled parking. Previously, we had them at 45. We're going to go down to 30 degrees because it's so tight in front. We want to make sure that we can get out around the front of the parking areas. So there's only going to be 3 spots and 1 handicap, I think, in the front. And then the back and the side and the back will have the remaining parking.
Right.
So that's the preference right now.
Right. And the options were submitted by Mike in terms of comments from staff and the town engineer to try to make the parking as conforming as possible to new standards, but recognizing that it's an existing site and that there were some pre-existing nonconformities, and our suggestion was that, you know, he should keep those at the expense of creating new impervious surface, which, you know, we really didn't want to do or have the applicant do. So that's the reason for the two options.
I do have a question. I count more than 11 on this particular site plan that I'm looking at.
Yeah, no, that was changed. That was modified and submitted to the committee. I can show it to you on a big, if you want a big.
Yeah, yeah, I'd like to see that. I don't see that in my packet.
So essentially, we modified the parking. We're going to have 3 in the front on angle roughly almost 30 degrees.
I see.
And then the remaining, there's 3 right on the side.
Okay,
And then there's 5 down below.
okay, all right.
That's all we're doing.
Can you just show the public? Thank you.
3 in front of the building, 3 on the side, 5 in the back.
Any other commissioners? Is that gonna, I do have a, what kind of retail is gonna go on the first floor?
Sabrina's not sure yet. They're trying to decide whether or not it's really going to be well-suited for a small hair salon, nail salon, or even they were thinking about, do they add something like a coffee shop or a small bakery for themselves to run? But they're still up in the air. They don't know what to expect.
All right, thank you.
I do, through the chair, I have a question. I think it's more, well, maybe you could answer, but looking at, if you have 3 apartments and you
Two.
have 2 apartments, 3 bedrooms total?
Total of 3 bedrooms.
Right. So how many parking spots are required per apartment?
Under the zoning regs that I have, that I've read through, for a one efficiency, it's really a 1-bedroom efficiency type.
Yeah.
It's 1.5 spaces. And then for a 2-bedroom, it's 2.5 spaces for 4, total of 4.
So 4. So that leaves you with
7 others.
for 2 retail slots.
Correct, and it's 250 square feet per slot, there's 1,540 square feet.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, so I entertain a motion to close the public hearing on this.
So moved.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ma'am?
May I bring a point of clarification to your?
Okay, go ahead.
My point of clarification.
You gotta come up, please come up to the,
My name is Elizabeth Vashutinsky. I live at 514 Sylvan Lake Road in Oakville. The point of clarification that I'm asking is contained in the statement which was made available to all of us indicating today's meeting. And it says in the first paragraph of this announcement, it says that this meeting will be an in-person meeting and will...
excuse me, ma'am, is this involving this public hearing for this gentleman on Main Street in Watertown?
No, it's...
No, I can't-
It's involving his as well as all the other.
Okay, it involves this? Okay, as long as
It's
it
an
involves this,
administrative question that I'm
Okay.
raising,
Okay.
which pertains to the whole meeting.
okay. Right,
So I will go back and read it. This meeting will be an in-person meeting and will also be available via Zoom for listen only. I hear a voice through the Zoom making motions, seconding motions, and adding to your discussion. Is that permitted under state law?
yes,
So when it says in your announcement that it is a listen-only meeting, it does not necessarily mean that other people can speak to you and with you?
well, if it depends on whether other people have made that request.
Personally?
Pardon me?
Personally, they made a personal...
Has anybody made a request to be in on the Zoom meeting? You know,
Right.
that could be an option. We have that option right now. We have a commissioner who's at home. He's still a commissioner. He's ill. He cannot attend us in person, and it's an accommodation to him. But we've kept these meetings available both personally and by Zoom.
So under state law, I could imagine that other persons would be able to also
I believe
participate?
that's possible, yes.
Okay, well, perhaps before the next meeting rolls around, that specific question could be answered to us, please?
Will do.
Thank you.
Have we closed the public hearing on that? Have we voted on that? Okay, thank you. Next thing on the agenda. New business. Site plan modification, TheraPlan. We're going to do edibles as well as smoking stuff now. Okay, here
Excuse
we
me,
go.
Mr. Chair.
Got some samples?
Are you
Oh,
trying to
Mark,
get me in
Mark,
trouble?
Mark, go ahead, Mark.
Yes. Mr. Chair, I just wanted to clarify and ask, so we've done away with articles on the agenda, so I just wanted to see where you might vote on at least so far on the two hearings that you've closed.
We'll bring the vote up on those we'll make that right after new business as number 11, and we'll make the Sealy discussion number 12.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right? Thank you, Mark. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Please state your name and address.
Krista Palumba, 480 Echo Lake Road. I am here on behalf of TheraPlant, 856 Echo Lake Road, Watertown. We are looking to seek a modification to an existing room where we'd like to partition it off and make a kitchen so that we may manufacture gummies. And I just want to clarify, when I say kitchen, I use it loosely because there will be no open flames. We will be using kettles that melt pectin to make the gummies. So I just wanted to make that clear that there is no open flame.
Okay.
That's all we're looking to do.
You're doing something within the existing plan?
Yes, we are taking one of our existing flower rooms and partitioning it off and making a kitchen as part of the room.
Okay. Mark, do you have anything to say on this?
Certainly the business has been in operation for several years. This appears to be as a modification or revision of their existing process or addition to their existing process. There's no additional employees, there's no additional parking required, There's no expansion of footprint. So it seems acceptable from a staff point of view.
Excellent, thank you. Does the commissioner have any question? Any commissioners have any question?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm just assuming we're not a big issue, but you go through the health department and all that when it comes to cooking and what.
Yes. This is actually our first step. In order for us to get we just need a packaging license. This has to be our first stop is here. And then we are working with the Foods and Standards Division of the DCP. They are with us every step of the way, yes.
I assume, but I wanted
Yep.
to ask.
Any other commissioners have any questions?
Yes, through the chair. Is this going to require a hood or any type of fire protection?
No.
Any other commissioners have any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Richard?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for the applicant. These gummies that you're going to be producing are very attractive to children. In your packaging, would they be very clearly marked? I don't know if you're at a packaging stage, but children are very interested in gummies and they love them. And of course, being a former teacher, whenever a candy product comes into a school system, right away every kid in the room says, give me a piece of that, give me a piece of that. So what kind of packaging? Will it be clearly marked dangerous substance on the packaging so it does not fall into the hands of any children in school? And I know you're interested in that.
Mr. Antonetti, there are very strict regulations surrounding cannabis, especially packaging and labeling. First of all, in the packaging, the gummies can only be in basic shapes. Squares, rounds. They cannot appeal to children. The names of the cannabis, when we name our strains, cannot be any appealing to any children at all. They're very strict. We can't even get approved until the DCP says this is okay. So the names itself, the kids will probably not even be able to read, first of all, because they're very complicated and scientific. Secondly, they have to be clearly marked, and they say THC, with the cannabis logo on it, and it has to be plain packaging. Everything of ours is very plain. It's either has to be black or white. So if it's white, it's got to have black lettering. If it's black, it has to have white lettering. They do not appeal to children at all. And we are the manufacturers, so we are selling directly to dispensaries. So when they leave our facility, they are in a van that goes straight to a dispensary. What the dispensary does is they know as well, you cannot sell to anyone under the age of 18.
Are you still in the factory wearing the garments that must be worn when they work in the factory?
I didn't hear that.
Are you still wearing the garments? At the time and inception of the factory, all employees had to wear garments, so nothing could be taken.
Correct.
From plant.
We wear scrubs with no pockets.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for the applicant, from the commission? Any questions from the public for the applicant? Any questions from the public? Anybody from the public? Yes, ma'am.
I just had a question.
Please approach.
Okay.
Give your name and address, please.
Martha Chenard, 1996 Litchfield Road.
Yep.
So I'm not totally familiar with your business, so pardon a little bit of nativity here, nativity. Ventilation, is there a need for ventilation with the manufacturing of these gummies? And is that any concern for the environment?
Not with the gummies. We already have proper ventilation now.
Do.
We do.
Okay.
Oh, yes, we do.
Okay.
The gummies, we're literally just melting pectin, gelatin. That's all we're doing. And infusing with cannabis, so there's no ventilation required.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the public while we're here? No? Okay. All right, so this is not a public hearing, this is new business, so it's a site plan modification, so it's subject to our approval. Do we have a resolution?
Yes, you do.
Carol, do you have the resolution handy?
Yes, you all have it in front of you.
Okay.
Do you want me to read it?
Let me find it in his packet here. Give me a second, please. All right, there it is. All right. No, what you could do is, it's relatively short. Yes, please, go ahead and read it.
Sure. Okay, it's from Mark Massoud, Administrator for Land Use and Building Services, dated 5/2/2023, Theraplan Site Plan Modification, 856 Echo Lake Road. Whereas the Watertown Planning and Zoning Commission hearing commission received a site plan modification for reconfiguration of interior space to accommodate production of cannabis edible products. Whereas the facility currently produces cannabis products for the adult use and medical cannabis market in Connecticut. Whereas the proposed modifications include no alteration of space outside of the existing building and causes no increase in odors or other discharges from the facility. Whereas there is proposed no increase in traffic flow or employee count as a result of the revised manufacturing process. Whereas there is no increase or change in security or other procedures associated with the facility. It is therefore resolved that the Commission approves the site development plan with the following conditions. All conditions of approval of the original site plan approval remain in effect, subject to review and approval of the building department, subject to review and approval of Torrington Area Health District, subject to review and approval of the fire marshal.
Thank you. Do I have a motion
So moved.
to approve this?
To approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No, I'd like to explain my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Richard.
The reason I am voting no, and I have voted no in the past on the use of a federal drug that is number one on the list of the federal government as an illegal substance. So therefore, I believe that cannabis should not be legal in any state that votes it through because it is illegal on a federal level. So that is the reason why I am voting no against this.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate your position.
Thank you.
It's approved,
Chair.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, so we should do the votes on the two public hearings that we have here. Do we have resolutions?
Yeah.
All right. All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
No problem.
All right. Let's see what we got here.
Use that disclaimer.
We have 795 Straits Turnpike. All right, we have a draft resolution. Will the secretary, you want to read this resolution?
No, I don't think we need to. We
Okay.
normally just do,
Okay, we make a motion to approve it in accordance with the resolution as drafted,
Excuse me, 1 minute.
as we have.
Correct.
Refer to it, okay.
correct.
All right, you want to make that motion?
She's going to give it to me to read.
Okay.
Thanks, Carol.
Yep.
Site plan, special permit, standard review for 795 Straits Turnpike, Watertown, Connecticut. I make a motion that we waive the reading of the resolution and adopt the written resolution with the conditions prepared by Mark Massoud, Administrator of Land and Building Use Services.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It carries. It's approved. Thank you. Where we are. All right. The next matter for adoption is the site plan submitted by AEPM International on behalf of Sabrina Signor for 1125 Main Street. Do you have that resolution, Mark? I mean, I have it here.
Yeah, I got it right here. I make a motion to waive the reading of the resolution and adopt the written resolution with all conditions prepared by Mark Massoud, Administrative Land Use / Building Services.
Do I hear a second for that?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. It's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda. Would be, going back to old business, the proposed Sealy Oakville Center Plan Development District. Submitted, I'm sorry, what are
No,
these?
we want to get him out of the way.
Ryan Geddes? Hang on.
Might as well.
Yeah, we have one minor matter, well, I shouldn't say minor matter, we have one other matter that we'd like to move forward on before we get to the Sealy project. It's number 11, informal discussion. Ryan Geddes Jr. for Premier Properties LLC, 243 Echo Lake Road, potential revision of site plan development, elimination of one building and conversion of two buildings from townhouse to 1- and 2-bedroom units. Mr. Geddes.
Through the chair, I'm going to recuse myself from this application.
Yes,
Or
sir.
information, whatever.
Just tell us what you plan on doing.
Okay, Ryan Geddes, Premier Properties. Good evening, everyone. So, as you know, you guys are familiar with the 243 Echo Lake Road original site plan. I've been getting a lot of contact from different people saying, you know, you got all 3 bedrooms up there, can we, you know, is there any way you could do some 2-bedroom, 1-bedrooms? And I started looking into doing some diversity of the units. And, you know, as you know, when you first come in the property, there's that building of 5 on the right that's going in there. And there was a big thing going on long before I even bought the property. There was a lot of concern about that material coming off the property and the safety. So my proposal is basically keep the 2 of the buildings pretty much to the same footprint, just increase the unit mix within them and eliminate completely the building on the right-hand side going in. So that ledge, that big beautiful piece of ledge would stay. So what I'd end up with is like the building of 6 that's in the front right now. You'd go up to the end of the road, and at the end of the cul-de-sac, which is basically units 18 through 23, those would be the same as the building in the front. And then I would just do 2 buildings. If you have the packet, it has the new building of what we would do. And we would have 12, we'd end up with 12 2-bedroom units and 12 1-bedroom units spread out in those 2 buildings, thus roughly keeping the same footprint of what was originally approved. The other thing is, we were talking about the impervious surface, but by eliminating that roof and that building and adding the parking, the only thing we're really adding is a little bit of additional parking to accommodate. Bedroom-wise, we have 87 bedrooms if we did the project the way it is now. With the proposed, we end up with 72 bedrooms. And the bedrooms line up with the bathrooms, so we would have 72 bathrooms in the new proposal, and wouldn't have 87 bathrooms. So talking with the water district, you know, that all was great for them. So where I'm at is, I wanted to just talk to the commission, get the feel, is this something that would be, you know, a relatively easy thing to swap out before I went and just simply had the engineer make the change? That's why I wanted to chat tonight, to get the input. That's why I'm here.
Okay. Commissioners have any questions?
Through the chair, why'd we have to add so much parking? We added 2 lots of parking, right?
Yeah, because what happens is we're making, basically you're gonna have 6 one-bedroom and 6 two-bedrooms in the building. So we just had to add, and also I did forget one thing. We had no handicap requirements for that project. With the proposal, I'll be giving handicap units. I did forget that, and that's why the parking is more, to meet the regulations.
Sorry,
Any other
the 4
commission?
spaces here is gonna meet the standards? It shows 4 handicaps?
Yeah, so you would have, yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
so you, the 2, 3 bedrooms, you're taking 2 of the buildings, you're keeping them that way. 2 of the other ones you're replacing with 1 and 2 bedroom units.
Correct.
Something we kind of need around here,
Thank you.
I think. You know,
It's,
if it gets through.
yeah, I mean, I came in, we talked about it, and I think it's the right thing to do for that project, because it's all 3-bedroom. And I'm gonna say it, 3 bedrooms gonna bring kids in, where I'm getting a lot with 2-bedroom people, professionals, that wanna keep 1 bedroom and make, you know, obviously they'd have to come in and get approval, but they make a little home office to work at home. So, I think it's,
Are you creating more units?
yes, we'll be adding a total of 7.
7 additional units?
Yes,
Okay.
but within the same footprint of 2 of the buildings and eliminating 1 building completely.
Okay. And the parking, the parking requirements have increased a little bit?
Yes.
Right, okay. Mark?
I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman, so the reason Mr. Geddes is here tonight is just to ask on an informal basis whether the commission would entertain such a revision. If he receives a positive response, he would go ahead and revise his plans and make a formal site plan modification to the commission so that you could review and we could review in more detail.
I think that's reasonable. Reasonable request, too.
I have a question to the
Yes.
chair. Your whole site plan, by eliminating that 1 building, are you still keeping the same amount of impervious surface, or are you taking away from impervious surface?
It's gonna be about the same, because when
About
we
the same.
eliminate the roof line, that whole building, it'll just be transferred over to the extra parking.
Okay.
Through the chair, what's the square footage compared, like a 3-bedroom to a 2-bedroom to a 1-bedroom?
So the 3 bedrooms are like 1,500 square feet. The 2 bedrooms will be probably 1,000 and change. And then the 1 bedrooms are gonna be like in the 7 range. And again, that's all with the the architect. I can get you those exact numbers.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair, sorry, are these rentals or are these purchases?
No, for sale,
They're for sale?
yes.
Okay.
I'm not in the apartment business. I'm developing, building, selling.
Yeah, I know a lot of developers have changed with the
Yeah.
market because the rents are so high.
Market's pretty strong still. I don't
Yeah.
know, I don't know where these guys are getting their money for their mortgages, but
This is going to be a condo
yes,
project.
condos, townhouses, yeah.
Any other questions from the commission?
Mr. Chairman?
Okay,
Mr. Chairman?
Richard, I'm sorry, speak up, Richard, please.
Okay, I realize that maybe it's getting late. One of the issues has always been, and Mark, you're very familiar with this, is affordable housing. And at one time when this development was in process, there were a number of affordable housings with levels of income. Are you aware of that?
Yes, 9 units.
9 units.
And even at the new mix, it's still at that end.
Okay, and how about the dollar figure for you, for the people that would be applying for the affordable?
I couldn't hear you, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm kind of partially deaf in one ear. I've been running
I'm
equipment my whole
sorry.
life.
Um, Is the affordable housing, who will buy, is the price at the time was 42,000 for a one resident, and for others it would be, couples would be 52,000. Has that been raised? Applicants
well-
for housing?
It's not low-income housing, it's set as affordable. They're totally two different
Affordable.
animals. Yeah, that's set by the federal government and the state. So whatever the guidelines are is what we will meet per our approval on the original project.
And you said it was 9?
There was 9, sir, yes.
Thank you. And I must praise you for having handicap units added. How many will that be? I missed what you said. Handicap units.
Oh, handicap units. So there will be 4.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry, I just couldn't hear you that well.
Yep, it's understandable. I have no other questions, but a question to Mark. Mark, how does this go with our growing numbers that we had to meet in affordable housing? There was a study done, I guess, back in 2019. Does this increase our numbers for affordable housing that we have to meet as a town? Can you hear me, Mark?
Yes. Well, yes, the short answer is yes, Mr. Antonetti. It does increase the number of units just by simple math, but no, it does not help the town to achieve its 10% commonly set state target for affordable units.
Right, I know we're working to try to meet that standard. How close are we?
Not very. I think we're at about 4% right now.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any,
I have
yes.
no other questions.
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
Oh, through the chair, what's the price point on each unit, like one bedroom versus two bedroom versus?
We haven't even hit that yet. But in the 3 bedrooms are gonna be in the 3s, low 3s.
Low 3s?
Yeah.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right. Very nice presentation.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Okay, Ken DeBeers can take his place again. All right, I'd like to, why don't we take before we get into the Sealy issue, why don't we take a 5-minute recess? All right? All right. Recess.
Recording stopped.
a minute? And here. Just tell me this, what this says.
Okay, let's take our seat. Let's take our seats. Louis, we're gonna start the meeting again.
Recording in progress.
Okay, the item on the agenda under all business is the proposed Sealy Oakville Center Plan Development District submitted by Attorney Franklin Pilacy, the petition to amend the zoning regulations to Section 2 definitions to add Plan Development District and to amend 34.14 drive-through facilities. Establish the Sealy Oakville Plan Development District. Public hearing closed on April 5th. Commission decision within 65 days. For hearing on or before May 5th, 2023, which means we should be making a decision tonight. And it's the commissioners' vote and discussion. So we're going to open the floor to commissioners and their comments and their thoughts on this. And I would hope that commissioners, if you have a position on this, that you would speak your position and give the reasons for your position, and so we can all talk about it and use these comments by each other to help us make a decision. All right. Richard, I'm going to call on you first because you always have something good to say.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr.
Try to
Chairman,
speak a little louder, Rich. We can't increase the volume here.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have some comments regarding this very, very important development, not only for the Oakville area, but for not only Oakville, but the whole town of Watertown and the 23,000 residents, and not only those people with the feeling, and I do understand their feelings and sympathize and empathize with their feelings, which is not in my backyard. That generally goes anytime there's a change or transition taking place. But we have to look out for the total good of the community of over 23,000 residents of Watertown and Oakville. So my feeling is we have developers who have come before us. We have also the public who has come before us with their viewpoints. The developers early in 2021, which I, at that time, and yourself, Mr. Chairman, as Vice Chairman, had a lot of talk in favor. In fact, you did receive, as I did receive, a letter from the head of the Director of Public Policy and Economic Development for Watertown and Oakville, that they favored this development. Also at that time, and persistently, there have been those people that over-exaggerate the conditions that are going to happen with these developers. At first, it was the building is going to go sky high and block the view of everybody in that area. But today, we have found to be true that is not the case. Also, the developers came before us with renderings of what the buildings were to look like. And I'm sure that you all are very familiar with those renderings, because those look very nice renderings of buildings. We find that if you look at that particular map of the area, there is still the residents that abut the property. They're basically on hillside. And if you note on the map, there is also a property that is there for Watertown. And I assume when we have an opportunity to hear the developers, what that particular exit would mean as far as traffic going down Hillside. The only other exit at the top of the property is on Henry Street. And there would be an exit up there and going over to Riverside. There's been much discussion about the possibility of traffic. And again, that, as we all know as commissioners, that traffic is a major problem. And being chairman myself of the police commission, we are faced with major highways. We are currently dealing with a road safety audit, which will try to provide greater safety on Main Street and state roads. And we have to deal with very heavy traffic, but we are trying to control it. They fear that there may be a huge amount of traffic coming out of there. They also, people feared that there would be a problem with Starbucks, but it appears people enjoy Starbucks. It appears that there is no problem with traffic with Starbucks, and traffic can be controlled with proper devices that would be installed. We have a group of developers, our long-term developers in the town of Watertown, and they have brought some very, very good developments to our town. So I look at both sides, 23 or more residents as versus maybe 200, 300, maybe even 500 people that may be opposed. And I look out as a commissioner, what is best for the town? Development of this particular site may bring more tax revenue. There's no question about it. And that is something seriously needed for our town, especially in a budget time where we're looking at increased costs to every resident in town as far as property. And don't forget, next year is reevaluation, which means more taxes for residents. So I, at this time, seem to lean in the direction of what is best for Watertown as a total and Oakville as a total. Not for a few who over exaggerate the problems that may, and I do say may exist. Maybe they have a better crystal ball and they can see all these problems for the residents of Oakville because they don't want it in their area. But we, as a town and as residents of Oakville, not those that live closely on Riverside or on Hillside, but for the whole town, there may be very good things if this thing moves forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Richard. All right, the next in line is Ken Demers. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I do. I would like to, though, Ray, I know you're going to be last on the list. I would like to be right behind you, seeing I'm the senior on this commission. I want to save my comments for the end.
Okay, I can give you that. Dan DeVito.
I have a lot.
Okay.
So I have several, more than several questions on the proposal. Starts there. With number 5, under under qualifying standards, which is page 3. Let's see. Actually, no, I'm sorry. We could skip that one. I apologize. Number 12, under qualifying standards, it speaks of the drive-throughs. And I know this has been a contentious point for the developers who want it, residents who have spoken against it. They don't want it in their backyard, which is understandable. And I think one of the biggest points that hit me the hardest was our veterans came in and spoke against it. They didn't want that behind their memorial. And I'm sure they look at it as a desecration of their memorial, which I could understand. I think we have several veterans in the crowd. Would you raise your hands? Thank you all for your service. It is greatly appreciated. And so for that, I can't stand behind a drive-through, not in that location, not where it's shown in the drawings. Our parades end there. It's where we gather. It's where services are held. And it shouldn't be close to that area. That's at least how I feel on it. Let's see. So moving down to item D, which is under qualifying standards. It says that there doesn't need to be an overall plan with the phased development. I would disagree with that. I don't think it should be piecemealed. Maybe it could be built in piecemeal, but there should be an overall plan going in so we know what's going to be there or what they're hoping to be there, and then it could always be changed. But I think going in, there should be a plan. Purpose.
I appreciate the participation, but I would appreciate that we don't have applause for the speakers or, just give everybody a chance to speak and hear their point without the necessity of applause, either way, negative or positive. Thank you very much.
Sorry. So stepping back, or stepping forward to my number, let's see. Under purpose for SOV PDD, on page 4, it says creative and flexible architecture design. It does go on later to state the type of architecture. So I just wanted to clear that up because that seems to give them leeway as far as what the architecture should be. And later on, we state a particular style. So that's just something that should be discussed. Under permitted uses, letter I, it says regional warehouses, storage, and distribution facilities. I, for one, don't believe that we should have a distribution facility in that area. So I would like to see that removed. Let's see. Under permitted uses and outdoor displays, it says it's an accessory to any permitted use. Mark, this is a question for you. Is that typical, or would it typically be a special permit?
Part of that was to allow for retail stores to have outside displays of seasonal merchandise or to have group sales, things of that nature. Outdoor display as an accessory. No, I would not. I mean, that would not be a, to me, that would not rise to the level of a special permit.
Okay.
But could be, actually probably could be conditioned in the site plan, in the subsequent site plan approval.
Okay.
I would think.
the reason I bring that up is later on, it goes on to say 5% of the floor plan, I think it said, or something similar to that. So if we had a 60,000 square foot building, they could potentially have 12,000 square foot of outdoor display. So it may be something we want to cap or do some above a square footage, maybe as a special permit or something like that.
Or, yes, or maybe
Site plan.
take a look at that,
Yep.
that number.
Okay.
Maybe that number's too high for the, for the commission.
Thank you. Number, oh, sorry. Vehicle and pedestrian circulation. Because it's just a site plan approval and because the initial site plan doesn't show pedestrian circulation, it's not quantified. So I get concerned that if it's not shown on the initial approval for site plan and it's not quantified, that we're kind of left guessing where it's going to be and how much of it. We don't have a good understanding of what the intention is. So that's just a concern of mine. Let's see. Under vehicle and pedestrian circulation, number 1, open space, there's not a quantification of benches. Again, with the initial drawing come in, the site plan, if it's not shown on that and there's not a number, benches just means plural. So it's interpretation. And because we're not doing a special permit, I would like to see a little bit more detail or a quantifying factor on that, just so we know what we're getting or what will be there at least. Vehicle and pedestrian circulation, number 2. The pedestrian connections, it doesn't speak of anything to Hillside. Was there a reason for that, Mark? It just says Route 73.
I believe the way that I believe we looked at it was the main point of contact in terms of a pedestrian access would be, as you mentioned, through the park, through the Veterans Park, onto the Main Street Oakville pedestrian sidewalk. I think that was again, the main focus of any pedestrian movement. I think we saw in the subsequent drawings that there would be at least a vehicular access through Hillside, but at this point didn't contemplate the pedestrian focus wasn't the focus of Hillside.
Right.
It looked like it was more vehicular oriented. That was the reason.
Yeah, maybe we could add that. I would just like to make sure it's safe for residents. Let's see, number 1. So under number 3 of vehicle and pedestrian circulation, it calls out residential in there, but they're not able to do residential. Is that correct, Mark?
It's not, no, it's not contemplated at this point. There are some environmental restrictions on the use of the site. I'm not sure that they completely prohibited those uses, but it seemed that at least the makeup of the commission prior, and I think from input with the developers, it was decided that kind of jointly that residential was not, there was no favor for residential development on this site.
Okay.
I don't think it's prohibited specifically, but that's how the application has proceeded, both applications.
Okay. Again, under vehicle and pedestrian circulation, number 4, kind of like the benches and such, there's no quantifier for the adequate. It says adequate for bike racks. So there's no, it's left up to interpretation. Additional standards D. It says max height of the building shall be 40 feet from the ground level to peak of roof line, not including non-habitable space such as attic, pitched roof, or ornamental features such as a cupola. So I'm not understanding because it says 40 feet to the peak, but then it says not including pitched roof. So is it 40 feet to the peak of the pitched roof, or is it 40 feet to the base of the roof and the pitch is extra?
Sounds like if it's habitable or not. Sounds like if it's habitable or not.
Yeah, it sounds like the point is whether it's habitable or non-habitable space. So if it's non-habitable, not including non-habitable space. That's a good question. I'm not sure I have a good answer for that at this
Okay.
point.
Something to look into. The additional standards, the setback is 35 feet on all the way around. Is that typical for separating residential and commercial? It just doesn't seem like that much.
I believe that came from the zoning regs themselves for
Okay.
that district.
All right. Thank you. Number building design. Under building design, there's no mention of masonry or brick, which is pretty typical of Oakville. Was there a reason that's not on there, or just an oversight, or assumed because of the renderings?
Dan, in a general sense, like herein lies the tension between the previous application, which lacked even more detail, and this application where we attempted to remedy some of that lack of detail. I guess the question you seem to be posing in a general sense is how much detail is included in this PDD application. Since this is the first one, and since they were somewhat breaking ground, we're trying to find our way. And certainly this is, by and large, what the applicant had proposed, modified by staff and the commission to attempt to add in some of that detail. I guess my general answer to your questions is that during the site, even though it's the site plan process, and even though typically site plan is more of a ministerial approval, the Watertown zoning regs are a bit more robust than they might ordinarily be. And what I mean by that is that the site plan standards are fairly akin to special permit standards in a lot of respects, up to the point where they even allow the commission to hold a public hearing on aspects of the application when if this is approved and they go on to the next step and put those site plan applications in, the commission has more latitude than it might ordinarily. Again, very, very much akin to special permits. So I think the rationale in moving forward with this is that the commission has some inherent power, more inherent power when it comes to that review process, and you'd be able to flesh out and ask for those details rather than having them in this particular application. yes, according to the model regs, which we subsequently, model PDD regs, which we subsequently approved, and which this is not falling under, all of that, or a significant portion of that detail would be provided up front. There's no doubt about it. But again, in this application, it's a little bit of a, almost a little bit of a hybrid, and I think we're relying on the commission being able to ask and receive those kinds of details during subsequent site plan approval.
So, though there's a lot of stipulations with site plan, it's not as strong as, say, a special permit. So if they meet the requirements here, and we're saying there needs to be more, they don't necessarily have to do more. Is that correct? Like, say we did say, oh yeah, no, we want to see this all brick, they could say, well, it's not called out in there.
I think the commission has a lot of latitude to ask and receive those kinds of details.
Okay. Thank you. I didn't see a limitation for building or unit size in here.
So the applicant did provide those at least for conceptual plans, right? And they do show, I think two of them, even, I think they show one building of 60,000 square feet. They show two buildings, one of 40,000, one of 20,000. And then the third and the fourth are broken up a little bit more, but I think they show between 60 and 80,000 square feet of total building coverage on the site. Again, I think that part of the commission's job is to look at those conceptual plans and to, I think you have the latitude to pick the ones, or if they're all of them, if you're happy with a theoretical proposal as outlined by any of those four proposals, they would at least govern the overall conceptual look of the site.
Okay, thank you.
At least, and that goes to the building, to the building size. I'm sorry, the second part was unit size?
Yeah, building or a unit.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep, thank you. You
Sure.
answered that perfectly, I appreciate it. And speaking on that part of the drawing with the 60,000, I believe that's about 2/3 the size of Stop and Shop. So we would, if they went with that design, that's what would be getting put in downtown Oakville. Do we, I may have missed it on the drawings. The coverages for impervious, is that on there?
I'm sorry, do the
Coverage for impervious? Is there a limit on that?
They are, again, this is a unique site, so they are, in essence, making their own, the coverages, how do I put it? The coverages don't, unless otherwise specified, and they do specify in some instances, in some of these standards, that they're meeting current zoning regulations, but that might be one because of the relatively intensive development of the site. I think they're setting their own, in essence, setting their own standard for the site. So I don't think it necessarily has to meet any of the current zoning standards for impervious coverage on the sites right at this point.
Okay. That's mostly what I have, but I do want to say thank you to Mark. Mark, you've put in an immense amount of time over months and months of putting together submittal after submittal and going through this and talking it all out, and your help has been greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
You're welcome. To everybody else, I think everybody wants to see this area developed. I think we all want tax dollars coming in. But I think we all want it done right. And as I sit here, I'm not confident that's going to happen. and it's downtown Oakville. We have thousands of cars that go by there. This is something that could make Oakville great, or it's something that could not make it great. And sitting here, I don't feel like we have a definite answer on which way that's gonna go. And something else to factor in, even if, you know, I know you developers have done a lot and you've done great things, what if it's sold? You know, if we have faith in them, that's great, but, you know, economy turns, it gets sold, somebody else comes in, and now they're to the same standards. So I feel things, I don't know, I just don't have 100% confidence. And I think it's so important that we need to be that confident.
Thank you, Danny.
You're welcome.
Very well put. Well done. Let's see, next on the rotation here, we have Lou Esposito.
Hi, guys. Nice to see you all here tonight. I'm sure you wouldn't all be out here tonight if you didn't be inquisitive about what's going on with us and development and developers. I firmly believe that, look at the crowd, I mean, look at yourself, you're concerned, and I think I'd be too, because I would want to see concrete evidence of exactly what's going on. None of this, well, we'll get it for you, we'll let you know. We could use it. Whether or not we could use it in Oakville on the Sealy land, who knows? But for someone to come in and give us the right information that is needed for us to decide what to do with that property, we have to work together on it. We got to remember, there's two sides to every story. And I think your story is very, very legitimate because you're all here. And I also think that the commission, on our part, Mark on his part, Carol, Planning and Zoning's office, are also concerned that things should be done properly. Because if they're not, you know that old saying, you're finally going to get caught up in something you didn't do right. But I really, I'd like to see it move forward with the exact wording of what actually is going to be put up in the right way. Nothing to hide. I can't see anything bad about it, except the fact that you're going to be living near it, possibly. But if it's done correctly, it'll be done properly. And I kind of like the idea of more and more retail. I like the idea of possibly a drive-through, tax base increase. Like Mr. Antonetti said, something about reevaluation next year. And that's when the people are going to get very concerned in this town, very concerned. So let's not complicate matters by giving other people other work to do that's not necessary. I think we should listen to all the facts and the true facts and determine what to do. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Louis. I understand that, David, you don't have any comments, or I assume that's correct?
I could say a few things.
Go ahead.
I know everybody's against this drive-through, and it doesn't seem like this project is going to go forward without one. If there's going to be one, I think there's only got to be one for a restaurant. It's got to be more inside the property, not near the edges, nowhere near the perimeter. I think the architectural style will be good, the village concept, and the way Mark is talking now, we're going to have something to say about that. And all in all, I think overall, it's a plus for the town. And that's it.
Thank you, David. Louis, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I need to clarify a couple things. Mark, I thought there was a maximum building height in the regulations. Does that not apply on this PPD?
They're suggesting that that would be 40 feet.
I'm sorry?
That would be 40 feet.
Okay. But is that our regulation, or is it 35? I mean, do they have to adhere to the regulation, or are they making their own regulation in the PPD for height?
They're making their own regulation in the PDD.
Okay.
I think in the industrial areas, it's upwards of 40 feet, but
Okay.
not in this particular zone.
Okay.
As it would stand.
And to clarify a couple things, what we're voting on tonight is primarily the text amendment to allow something like this to happen in that area, correct?
Correct.
And then, under the site plan review, we have an option of reviewing the plan where they could get more detail, more specific with square footage and what's going to be in there and the architectural design, et cetera. How much leeway do we really have in that as the board? Like, if they came in with just cement everywhere, could we say we don't accept that site plan? Or are we kind of stuck them just putting up a cement building?
I would wind up saying again what I said to answer Dan. The tension here is between the levels of specificity, but the regulations, my opinion, town attorney's opinion, is that the commission has greater leeway than normally might be afforded by site plan approval in this particular case, because the Watertown zoning regulations seem to allow the commission to examine those details and to make its decision based on a lot of that, a lot of what would be submitted by the applicant. So if you're not happy with the it's a steel building or it's a cement building, I think that the commission has a latitude to say, no, you don't like that, and you wish them to add those details to the site. And I think that it can work both ways, right? If you're cumulatively happy with the changes that you have received as an application or have received through modification, certainly you can approve, but on the flip side, if you're not happy with the level of detail or the standards that you've set forth, that you have the ability to deny.
A lot of the questions were about the drive-through and maybe the Veterans Park down at the bottom there. Do we have latitude to say if there's going to be a restaurant or drive-through up to put some kind of a buffer, just sort of shelter or hide? Do we have that kind of latitude in our
Yes,
site plan
if
review
that
once they submit it?
Yeah. If that involves, if you're speaking of landscaping,
Yes, that's what I was
of
talking
that
about.
nature.
Yeah, some arborvitaes or trees or fence or something to, not make it so obvious. So from what I'm understanding, we do have ability to make this right at some point through the site plan review if things are not looking great here, where we don't have a lot of detail. We could ask for more detail in the site plan review and make it more specific.
In this particular instance, the applicant did tie themselves, even though this is a unique zone, the applicant tied themselves, I use the term loosely, to certain aspects of the current regulations, and this is one of them. It says at the time of site plan approval, the development must comply with Section 31 landscaping, screening, and buffering. So at the least, you have that ability to ensure that they meet those standards. And I would think that, again, it's this, tension between how much specificity and how far beyond the regulations one can go. But if Section 31 didn't provide adequate landscaping, I think the commission can go, a bit further. You can't go, really crazy and ask for something that's not tied to the regulations, but that would be part of your due diligence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, and it's good to know that we have more control than we thought we would have, and I think that's good information. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
All set, Brady.
Thank you, Louis. All right, going down the list, Kenny wants to speak last, that's my turn. But there's somebody, no, he's an alternate. We only have the regulars.
I don't need to speak last, you can speak last. I think you misunderstood me, okay. So I just want to go back a few months and say we've been through a process, and the applicant submitted an application for what they felt they needed for this property that they're going to invest millions and millions of dollars in. So we've been given two motions of approval here. One of them is an alternate. I'm assuming the only difference in this and what I think everybody spent a lot of time working on, town attorney, yourself, Mark, the commission, the applicant, I think the one that's not marked alternate was the one that everybody expected to see 2 days ago. So to me, I was surprised by this. And I can't support it. I won't support this alternate this motion for approval. I think that the applicants, based on the fact that they agreed to, I believe, everything in this, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, that I would be in favor of the original motion that I think we've spent countless hours as a group. Applicant, town attorney, commission, staff, everybody. I think some good points were brought up tonight. I don't expect that the developer's going to put up a cement building. I mean, I'm thinking through my head, I don't see too many cement buildings around. I mean, I think it would be pretty hard to rent. And the biggest question is, I just want to make sure we're not going to get in any trouble. Are we at the last minute of the last hour actually able to add and subtract things from a motion of approval?
If they were brought up and discussed during the public hearing process, I believe it's in the commission's power to make modifications based on information that's had already been discussed. To go at this point to bring in items that were not not discussed at the public hearing would be troublesome.
So what you're saying is it's okay to, from day one, from going back to the application that was approved years ago, year and a half ago, whatever it was, seems like 3 years, 4 years for me, but it's not. And we've been talking about a drive-through restaurant the whole time, every meeting that we've had. It would be okay with eliminating it with this tonight?
I would say.
I don't think so.
Not both applications, because the first application was approved and then subsequently withdrawn. So it would be limited to the public hearing discussion on the current application.
Yeah.
And you have heard testimony and had discussion with regards to drive-throughs, the number of drive-throughs or the lack of drive-throughs. So
Let me
at this
go back to
point-
this one. There was meetings with the town attorney, with yourself, with, I'm not sure anybody on this commission, but with the applicant, and this was the motion that I think everybody agreed to.
That's
Not
the-
agreed to, but talked about a drive-through. But see, I didn't find out about this until 2 days ago, and I'm a little upset about it, because it just, to me, seems like it's coming in the last inning, and I don't think that's right. I won't support this. I'll support what was originally put in front of us.
If I may, so the commission has the latitude to discuss and debate, any of these paragraphs that are in the motion. That's your purpose tonight. It was provided to you in that format at the request of the chairman, but it would have easily been provided to you or if commissioners so wanted to have that discussion on paragraph 12, let's take that as the example since we're talking about it, as an alternate or as an alternate paragraph within the main text of the motion. So I guess the way to look at it is that you're just taking that particular alternative idea and discussing it, whether it's a separate motion or whether it's part of the main motion, and you're just having discussion about that particular item.
I understand. but
Okay.
I've been around for probably 17 or 18 years on
Sure.
this commission, and we've had much larger applications in front of us than this. And this is, I can't remember the last time that I saw this. It just, to me, how did this even become? I mean, there's one thing missing from here to here. So whose idea was it?
Well, again, I think it's just an alternate form of presenting the information.
It was my idea.
Okay,
Okay?
yeah, that's fair.
So I can address it when I,
Sure. So I don't have any further questions. I can't support the alternate.
Bob, you're an alternate, okay? So,
I just want to ask, because we come to every meeting.
okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, ask your question. Yes, go ahead.
I have a couple of comments, and I'll keep it
All
very
right,
brief.
sure.
'Cause I agree with most of my members here, and I just wanted to say a couple of things. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. The site plan, it's up to these guys to ask what they want, and it's up to us to do our job. We're going to tell them, what we want for, we're going to say we want a colonial. Well, we got to let them have peaks. We got to let them do some doodads up there to make it look cute. The setbacks, we go through Mark. He gives us all the regulations. We're talking about the pedestrians and the vehicle. I'm sure we're going to make them put berms in with this and that and the other thing. I don't think we're getting a supermarket. I'm in the business. There's no supermarket that would ever go into that location. It's just not going to happen. And one other thing, again, we brought up the veterans. There's more people here tonight than there's ever been to any veteran. My family has a lot of veterans in it. I go to a lot of the things. I support them. And I have even talked with the applicants, and I said, we got that little corner. I'd like to see it be a little nicer out of respect for everyone, and that's it.
Thank you, Bob. Since Bob spoke, I should give Jack an opportunity
There you
to
go.
speak.
I'm looking at the audience out here, and I've seen more smiles at a wake, okay? I understand that we've been doing this for 2 years, This is a commercial property. It's going to be developed. It's not a matter of if, it's going to be a matter of when. There's some things that the commissioners are for, there's some things that the commissioners are against. I know the neighbors are very nervous about what's going in there because that's their backyard. I've been here as an applicant before. I developed Hawk Ridge Winery. I had a lot more neighbors bordering 60 acres than this small property did. So I listened to all the neighbors, and they talked, and they spoke, and they had their concerns. Some of their concerns were legit, some were a little crazy, to be honest with you, but I listened to them, because these are your neighbors. These are the people that are going to be supporting this project, and you got to work with your neighbors. And you want them to have an area right by their house that's a beautiful area that's going to make Oakville look beautiful. And you need to have this done as part of your legacy, because your grandkids are going to say, my grandfather built this, and we're very proud of it. So you need to be proud of what we're going to be putting in here, but this commercial area is going to be developed one way or another. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Okay, it's me. Well, I'm on. All right. I'm very conflicted here because I see the parcel, I want to see this parcel developed into an asset for the town, okay? It's understandable why the developers want to avoid future public hearings. Public hearings represent delays, occasional abusive commentary, and which fail to add to a discussion. Nevertheless, we're experienced multiple public hearings already on this silly proposal. The first application, which has been withdrawn, and the second application, which we're dealing with now, okay? In light of the objections presented at the public hearings regarding a drive-through restaurant and for a project this size, with an issue of this import, the developers who I know personally and have done good work in the past have not presented data nor any experts supporting a claim that the project would not be commercially feasible without a drive-through restaurant. We have opinions, but we haven't had any data. We haven't had anybody not associated as a developer with the project who has said that you couldn't develop this project without a drive-through restaurant. We have several we have several restaurants in town that are sit-down that are successful. Roma, Uncommon Grill. I think there's room for, you know, a restaurant, a sit-down restaurant, which could make this project successful also. This is the only chance we have to do it right. It is central to the Oakville downtown, and we will have a huge influence on the direction of the Oakville downtown takes in the future. One point that the public raised is that there's no drive-through restaurants located off the main thoroughfare in any other town that could be named. And I haven't heard of any, you know, drive-throughs that are not on the main thoroughfare. We do have 5 drive-throughs, I believe, in town right now. We have the 3 restaurants, Taco Bell, McDonald's, and Burger King. And then we have 2 drive-through Dunkin' Donuts and a Starbucks. I'm sorry, so there's 6 corrected. Is there any more? I missed anything? No? Okay. All right. Again, we have not seen any details of the project. And Mark, I have a question to ask you on this. When they come in for site plan approval, they can come in for a small section at a time, right? Not the whole thing?
Correct.
Or do we have to have a complete concept to approve anything? I mean, could they come in for like one building without giving us the entire specs?
I'm just looking at it here. Planned development district phase development shall be permitted. In such a case, a site plan for one or more phases may be submitted without the requirement for a site plan for the entire development.
Okay, all right. So we would never get, potentially never get a full picture.
The last, just to add, the last sentence is a phased development site plan may include a conceptual site plan for the entire development. So that's what's written in here. You do have again, kind of counter, you do have those four
We'll
conceptual
get to
site
that.
plans in
That's
front
true.
of you.
That's true. They're more building structures rather than site plans. They don't
That's
show,
true. Yeah.
they don't show pedestrian walkways. They don't, they don't show setbacks. There's a lot of things they don't show, no details. All right. We still have not seen any details of the project. I mean, details. Being asked to delay these until site plans are presented. There was an opportunity to present this plan as part of our new PDD regulation. But the application, but the developer has chosen to proceed with this application. They also disregarded or dismissed our land use consultant's opinion, okay, that we could use a PDD regulation. A PDD regulation that we have could bring the entire site in front of us, okay? I would be very open to another application if this thing does not pass, which applies to our PDD regulation, showing the site conceptual in its full, and would also be open to a drive-through if we had some kind of evidence or some kind of data showing that a drive-through is necessary to make this project successful. Now, that may not be possible to do that, but I'd like to hear something to that, because all we hear is opinions, okay? I shouldn't be I should be addressing everybody. Okay. Telling us that legal counsel has approved this application is fine. However, the application is different than what we previously approved, and the commission has a function. If it was only up to the legal counsel, we wouldn't need a planning and zoning commission. So I think that we should consider that this is past muster in a court, but I don't think that necessarily means it can pass muster here, and we have an independent right to make our own decision. Right? We are asked to exercise our own best judgment. We're not perfect. We can only base our decisions on what is presented to us. What's in the best interest of the stakeholders in this town? The town, the downtown Oakville, the neighbors, and the developers. This of necessity requires a balancing of interest. Development of the site is a good thing if and only if it fits and makes a positive difference. Does it align with the town's plan of conservation and development? Does it present a hardship to any of these stakeholders that I just mentioned? Both building size and traffic have been concerns. The developers have not presented a traffic study, have presented us with proposals with buildings as large as 60,000 square feet in these proposed building plans. Again, without either data nor experts to justify a position in these areas ostensibly meant to be retail. 60,000 square feet, again, to compare it, is 1.5 times the size of Le Bon's Market. I'm in favor of approval, but now that we've talked all these out, I think there's other things that need to be discussed, like the size of buildings. There's no limit, except that we have these plans. We could take them one at a time and say, are we going to allow a 60,000 square foot building? Are we going to reduce it to 40,000 square feet or 20,000 square feet or something? That's something that we need to concern ourselves with. PDDs have existed in other towns, and they've been successful. And I don't see why we have to be an exception, that we can't do it like everybody else does it and have a PDD. I would be open totally to approval under our regulation, PDD, and also to the developer's desire to have a drive-through. But I'd like to hear some substance to why this project would fail if it didn't have a drive-through, why it wouldn't be commercially feasible, okay? Rather than just, the economy is not that great and we need this, okay? And I appreciate that, all right? But there's been plenty of opportunity. We've had plenty of public hearings. many bites of the apple to present that, some kind of data to us, some kind of opinion, expert opinion, or something, a project like this located at this location absolutely needs a drive-through restaurant to be successful. Nothing was presented, okay? This may not be the biggest project that's come in front of town, but it's certainly been one of the most difficult things I've ever sat on. I'll tell you, it's been very stressful. And that's my feeling about this right now. At this point, that's what we have in front of us. And I'm concerned that if we take it the way it is, it's kind of a carte blanche, and we don't have that much control. And they can come in piecemeal because there's no obligation to give us a full site approval, on a site plan on a piecemeal basis. Anybody else, any other commissioners want to make any more comments or respond to anybody else? It's your opportunity.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Richard.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. I know it's pressing, but I think it's time to call for a vote. Everybody had a chance to get a piece of the pie, and everybody had a chance.
I got it, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so we have the proposal in front of us right now, the first proposal with the drive-through restaurant with the dual lane through. The developer's original proposal is in front of us. So I'm going to do this by a polling. Carol, would you poll each member of the commission on that, please?
Yes, they will, and I will call them as they spoke.
The first proposal that includes a drive-through restaurant, so it's the resolution. Actually, we should address it as the resolution to approve the proposal of the Sealy Oakville Planned Village Development District, and then have each commissioner make a vote accordingly. Thank you.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we should have a motion to approve.
Okay.
Would somebody please make a motion to approve this?
Mr. Chairman, I will make that motion.
Okay, do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay, I think we've had enough discussion, unless somebody else wants to make a discussion. Okay, let's poll the votes, please.
Okay.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, so everybody's clear, so you're voting on the original, I'll call it your first resolution that includes the one restaurant with drive-through facilities, just to clarify between the two. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion has been made and seconded, I believe.
Okay. Mr. Antonetti,
Yes.
Dan DeVito.
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
Lou Esposito.
No.
Dave Pope.
Yes.
Lou Cavallo.
Yes.
Ken Demirs.
Yes.
Mr. Antonacci.
No?
Okay. So I believe we have 3 no and 4 yes. Am I correct? Yes.
Correct.
3 no and 4 yes.
Which means it All right, we have an alternative here. We have the options here
So-
of adding,
Carries. Mr. Chairman, the motion carries.
no, it does not carry.
4 to 3.
We need a 2/3 vote. A petition was turned into the commission requiring a 2/3 vote on this. We have a 4 to 3 vote, that's not 2/3. Okay, so we have the second resolution. The commission is free to make amendments to this. And we could make amendments to this resolution, and we can vote on it. If we deny this resolution, the applicant's denied.
Can you even vote on two of them? I don't think you can you vote on it?
Yeah, we could make does anybody have want to make any motions to make any amendments to this particular second resolution?
I would like to. I would like to delete the Regional Warehouse Distribution Center.
Excuse me, so that I know, which motion are you referring to now?
Alternate.
The alternate, okay.
This is the second proposal, the alternative resolution.
Okay.
We're discussing possible amendments to the proposal,
Okay.
okay? So Dan has just made a motion. Go ahead.
We were talking about
Excuse me, I'm sorry, everybody has to be quiet.
Modifications.
I'm sorry, I need to get this perfect, thank you.
I would like to make a motion that we delete the Regional Warehouse Distribution Center option.
Do I hear a second? I'll second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That would carry. All right. All right, any other motions?
I'd like to make a motion to limit the unit size to 30,000 square feet per unit, not per building, but just per unit.
Per unit. You want to make a motion regarding the size of the buildings?
The size of the units.
The size of the units?
Yes.
30,000 square feet, okay. Do I hear a second? I'll second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
Abstain,
I don't
okay.
think we're
Anybody
supposed to be
abstaining?
voting on this.
Stay.
All right.
Abstain.
I don't think we're supposed to
All
be
right.
Richard's the only abstention.
No, there was 4.
Okay, hold on, please. Richard, Lou, and Dave Pope, thank you.
Any other motion? Okay. All right. I'll make a motion that you approve the resolution with amendments as voted on. Can we have a polling of the commissioners on that?
Mr. Antonetti,
Abstain.
You abstain.
abstain. Mr. DeVito,
I'll approve it.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Lou Esposito,
No.
no? Dave Pope,
Abstain.
Lou Cavallo,
Abstain.
Ken Demirs,
No.
Mr. Antonacci,
Yes.
so we have 2 yes, 2 no, and 3 abstain.
Okay, so that motion doesn't
Mr.
carry.
Chairman, I'd
Sir?
like to
That
change
doesn't
my
carry either.
abstention to no, please.
Sure. So the second resolution is denied. The first resolution is not passed either. The application is denied in its entirety at this point. Please. Please. This is difficult enough, guys. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
make that
I
motion.
don't think you need it. I make a motion adjourned.
I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.